In the second part of an extensive interview that aired Sunday in the Super Bowl, President Trump downplayed the countless accusations put forward by the special counsel Robert Mueller, saying that many of the accused in the investigation had nothing to do with him, without giving a clear answer if he made the report public. Reiterating his position that Mueller's research was a witch hunt, Trump said that most of the accused so far in the investigation were Moscow bloggers or people who were caught telling a story. Of the 34 people, many were bloggers in Moscow, or they were people who had nothing to do with me. They had nothing to do with what they were talking about, or there were people who were caught saying something or lying. Trump said in his interview with CBS, "I think it's a terrible thing that happened to this country because of this investigation is a witch hunt." When interviewer Margaret Brennan pressed on the recent charges against the consultant and Trump's confidant, Roger Stone, the president distanced himself from the eccentric person of Washington and his role in the 2014 presidential campaign. Roger Stone did not work on the campaign except the way it started long before we talked, Trump said. "Roger is someone I've always liked. Roger is a character, but Roger, I do not know if you know it or not, Roger was not in my campaign except at the beginning." Stone pleaded not guilty. Last week, charges were filed for serious crimes in Mueller's investigation in Russia, after a few days full of publicity, criticizing the investigation for political reasons. It has been widely talked about Trump forgiving Stone if he was convicted, but the president said in his interview that no thought, and that Stone seems to be defending very well before the court. The indictment does not accuse Stone of coordinating with Russia or WikiLeaks and launching junk emails. But he says he has misled lawmakers over his pursuit of such communications and interest in them. The WikiLeaks anti-secret website has posted emails in the weeks leading up to the 2016 presidential election that the United States claims were stolen from the Democrats by Russian agents. The president did not want to say whether or not he would publish Mueller's report as soon as it was completed, adding that this would be determined by the Attorney General and that he has no idea what he is going to say. "So far this has been a total witch hunt, and that does not mean anything to me," Trump said. "I did not mean it anyway, but I think it's a shame," said Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker last week that Mueller's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election and any possible link between the Trump campaign and the Kremlin was nearing completion. Trump of foreign policy and the current crisis in Venezuela. Trump said he did not rule out the possibility of military intervention in Venezuela, a position he had previously hinted at, and is currently against the disputed negotiation with President Nicolas Maduro. "A lot of really horrible things are happening in Venezuela when you look at that country," he said. "This was the richest country of all in that part of the world, which is a very important part of the world. And now you look at poverty, look at the anguish, and look at crime, and look at all the things that happen." The White House announced last week thousands of millions of dollars over new sanctions against Maduro and state oil monopoly, PDVSA, less a week after President Trump formally recognized Venezuela's National Assembly leader Juan Guaido as the legitimate leader of Venezuela. Senator Sherrod Brown, D. Ohio, decided on Sunday to take a chance against the president by calling Donald Trump and blaming the president to shake the racial divide in the country amid the growing scandal over the annual Virginia Governor's Medicine School, Ralph Northam. Photo. Brown, who is pondering the presidential bid in 2020, said during an interview on NBC's Meet the Press that Trump has developed his political career in racial politics and business empire, and Trump's father employed widespread discrimination in housing. "We have a president who is racist," Brown said. He built his political career knowing what he was doing, questioning the legitimacy and birthplace of the President of the United States. "I know that very early on there have been all sorts of news about what he did early in his career with housing." Brown's comments come amid a controversy over a photograph on the 1984 page of the 1984 School of Medicine at the Virginia Medical School, which featured a black-faced man and a second person in a hood and Ku Klux Klan coat. While Northam apologized on Friday for appearing in a photo, on Saturday the governor changed course and said he was not in the picture, after all. Brown has been one of Trump's top critics in the Senate and has been testing the waters before the main season of 2020. Last week, during a stop in the state of Iowa's Advanced State, Brown argued that voters support working-class Trump was betrayed, and in particular by the Republican-signed tax bill that benefited the majority of wealthy Americans. It's not just the middle class, it's the broad spectrum of people who work hard and simply do not have a break these days, Brown told the audience that participated in a time below zero in the city of 3,800 inhabitants. Jobs has declined dramatically in the past decade. Like Ohio, where Trump won in 2016 thanks to the strength of working-class voters, the other stops Brown on his three-day Iowa itinerary to underscore his central argument as a possible presidential candidate in 2020, comprising for the Midwest voters who have economic problems and that help make President Trump. I represent a state in which Trump's promises to recapture jobs, reindustrialization, and open new factories have clearly failed, Brown said in the appearance of Meet the Press. He did nothing about these promises as much as I know about a president who promises and breaks those promises and sells and betrays the workers. Brown said that some Democrats split the party into their liberal base and working-class voters, mostly white voters who did not receive college education, and who raised Trump not only in Ohio but also in the states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. For more than 25 years in Congress, Brown advocated favorable trade and tax policies for workers. It is also an ally close to the unions and has also supported liberal causes such as the right to abortion, same-sex marriage, and opposition to the war in Iraq. Brown attributes his re-election to a third term in the Senate last year to resonate a message to workers who feel abandoned while embracing his party's liberal base, including its growing racial and ethnic diversity.